for quota. The Madras High Court denied a SC certificate to a woman who was born a Christian. And Hyderabad cops take the lead in stamping out VIP culture. They crushed over 1,500 VIP sirens that were being used on the streets in this special drive. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gargi Rawat, and Parliament is resuming in just a short while from now. In fact, it has resumed. Remember, this is the second day of the winter session of Parliament that began on Monday. There was a break yesterday for Constitution Day, and as you can see, Parliament there has resumed. More fireworks are expected in Parliament today, with the Congress pushing for a discussion on the Manipur issue. They have put forward an adjournment motion to discuss the crisis in Manipur. Remember, on day one as well, we saw ruckus and adjournments, and the Parliament was adjourned early on the first day of the winter session and to be convened today on Wednesday. There are several bills that have been planned by the government to be introduced in this session of Parliament. The Banking Amendment Bill is expected to be tabled by the Finance Minister today, which allows multiple nominees for fixed deposits. So several major reforms in that Banking Amendment Bill. But meanwhile, the opposition has been pushing for a discussion on several issues. Yesterday, they had also demanded that there should be 2 days of discussion on the Constitution. This is something that opposition parties had written to the Speaker regarding, that they wanted to have a 2-day discussion on the Constitution, given that yesterday, Constitution Day, really saw that the beginning of a year-long celebration around the Constitution. So several issues that have caused ruckus in Parliament, and we have seen that the opposition has been raising several issues, demanding that discussions take place. The government on its part, and ministers as well as the Prime Minister himself, ahead of the start of the winter session, did appeal to the opposition to allow this session of the winter session to be a very constructive session of Parliament, as several bills have been planned that the government does hope to pass in this session of Parliament, including the Waqf Amendment Bill, which is also an issue that has seen the opposition taking on the government over. An amendment to the Railway Act is also something that has been planned. Well, let's go across now to my colleague Maria Shakil, who joins us from Vijay Chowk on this winter morning. Maria, and Parliament has resumed there, the winter session underway. The Congress this morning has pushed for a discussion on Manipur.
Yes, that's right. And familiar scenes playing out in both the Houses of Parliament. It's about ruckus, it's about pandemonium. There are crucial legislation which has been listed. The opposition's demanding is among the issues that have been demanded by the opposition for discussion is the functioning of EVM machines as well. Although the Supreme Court has said very clearly that when India bloc wins in states, they don't complain about EVM machines. When they lose in states, they complain about the functioning of the EVM machines. So will that really have any kind of resonance in Parliament? Will there be a larger discussion on what the opposition says is inexplicable, number of votes which has been managed by the BJP and Mahayuti in Maharashtra? Let me bring in the guests now. Mahima Singh is joining us of the Congress Party, Aarti Jairath, senior journalist, Shazia Ilmi of the BJP. Shazia Ilmi, the responsibility of running Parliament is with the Treasury benches. Can there be a meeting ground between the two sides? Can the government not see that all demands of opposition on discussion, not all subject or issues that the opposition wants discussion on are unreasonable?
For sure, Maria, there's no dispute on that. In fact, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister has spelled it out very clearly that every topic, every issue, every question will be answered, and we are ready to do that. But if the whole idea is just to create ruckus, just to make sure that there is pandemonium that prevails, And
Okay,
just
news
to
coming
raise
in now. Just
issues.
hold on to your thoughts. That Lok Sabha has been adjourned till 12 noon. So let's see when the House resumes. Will it be similar scenes and more disruptions? Yes, Shazia Almi, please continue, ma'am.
Yes, so if the opposition decides, as happened earlier, where there have been so many sessions which were a washout, to pick up something and go on about it and not let any other business happen, then there is very little that the Treasury benches can do. In fact, there was a meeting, and in fact, of all parties, only to ensure a smooth running of the session. But as you know, there are clarifications coming from the big business conglomerate which the party has been talking about. Issues like Manipur must be discussed. Nobody is running away from that. But the other business also has to be conducted. You have to have many bills, and they're very important bills, whether it's banking amendment bill or others, that they have to be done, or Railway Act or the airlines review of Airline Safety Act. All those have to be done, and those are very important. So just to harbor and point on one and create pandemonium all day long and have pictures of ruckus coming out of the parliament is not sign. It's not a sign of a healthy opposition whatsoever. So I think it goes both ways. Yes, and if the
Okay.
opposition has decided.
Okay. Point well taken. I mean, there's a lot of conciliation that is being sounded certainly on this broadcast. So, Mahima Singh, can the opposition also walk some extra miles here to reach that midpoint or midway between the two sides so that the citizens of India can witness some healthy discussions in Parliament?
Jai Hind, Maria, it would be needless to remind the country and your panel of the 2010 winter session washout and the many likes of that by the BJP and what Mr. Arun Jaitley used to say back then about the duties of the opposition. But let me just start by citing Faiz Jaunpuri's these very relevant lines for the BJP and the NDA. बस्ती में तुम खूब सियासत करते हो बस्ती की आवाज उठाओ तो जाने. Now you see this NDA, N for no, D for danger, A for Adani. No danger to Adani. This is that government. Mr. Kharge had requested a discussion under Rule 267 at the parliament, procedurally so. Yet, this government bypasses procedure. You see the sense of urgency, Maria, which is displayed in Lutyens, Delhi when there's a VIP movement, must also reflect in the working of this government at the parliament. The parliament is a platform for the opposition to raise the people's voice. The sense of urgency should reflect in discussing issues related to Manipur, Sambal, and Mr. Adani's indictment on foreign soil, which tarnishes India's image. So you see, these are the issues which we have been urging the government to discuss, but the government seem to have other business on priority,
Okay.
and it is, let me remind, the prerogative of the
Mahima,
business
today, this morning, in
council
fact,
and
Adani Greens filed its clarification in the stock exchange, and after that we heard from top legal eagles of India, Mahesh Jethmalani and also former Attorney General Mr. Mukul Rohatgi. They have in detail spoken about how there is no criminal charge against Mr. Gautam Adani and Sagar Adani, who is his nephew, saying clearly that the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, that they have not been charged under that. So I'll come back to you, Mahima, in just a bit. In fact, Pradeep Bhandari of the BJP is joining me on the phone line. Mr. Bhandari, we are seeing familiar scenes play out in Parliament. Of course, the question is, will the House function? But the point that has been made here is also that that Treasury benches has to make an effort to let the House to lend and to be more cooperative with the opposition.
Well, Maria, every minute 2.5 lakh rupees of taxpayers' money is wasted because of disruptions in the parliament. We agree that consensus is necessary. However, when the Indian opposition parties, in particular Mr. Rahul Gandhi, does not want the House to function, then what do? We are willing to sit across the table. However, Mr. Gandhi wants to bulldoze. Now, remember how they tried to spread this fake news about the indictment of a wealth creator, Mr. Gautam Adani. Now, it's come out that the criminal charges were not against the individuals. So whether it is Rafale, whether it is HAL, whether it is Hindenburg, and now the Adani US controversy, the intention of the Congress party is to just disrupt and spread fake news. Remember the last scenes of the parliament when Mr. Rahul Gandhi was seen instructing his colleagues in order to run to the well of the house to disrupt the speech of the parliament. So we question the intent of the Congress party, which is not letting the house function. Even today, this morning, the chair assured the opposition that all their issues will be discussed. However, they continue to disrupt. So what do you do when the Indian opposition is not willing to listen? They are wasting taxpayers' money.
Okay, but the larger okay, so Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, both the houses of parliament adjourned till 12 noon, and we'll see what happens really at 12 noon. So the ruckus has been with regards to what the opposition says are their concerns, and the government of the day. Of course, we'll wait to hear from the Parliamentary Affairs Minister and others as to what their line is. But Pradeep, the larger question is also, after we heard from top lawyers of India talking in details on how there is no charge of obstruction of justice against Mr. Gautam Adani and his nephew. There is no charge under Foreign Corrupt Practices Act against Adani Greens. Then why should this be a subject of discussion in Parliament? Pradeep, if you heard me.
Yes, Maria, the larger question is, why is the Congress party in touch with elements which want to hurt the Indian growth story? The Congress party has issues with Indian wealth creators. The Congress party has issues with the India's infrastructure story. So, well, yes, we charge the Congress party what its real intention is, because what the Congress party speaks is exactly spoken by George Soros and those who want to profit from chaos. Now, even in this case of Mr. Adani, if you recall and remember, all the narrative which was spread by the Congress party has fallen flat. But the larger issue is, what's the principle? The core is that India is moving forward and Indian wealth creators are important contributing elements in it. So whether it was Hindenburg, where the Supreme Court passed a judgment which was absolutely contrary to the narrative spread by the Congress party, and now even in the Adani US saga, whatever the Congress party was seeing, all of that turns out to be fake news. So the real intention of the Congress party is to hurt the Indian growth story, to ensure that those who create and contribute to the India's wealth creation, their morale is down. The small and medium investors, their morale is down. Indian stock market, there is confusion. We will not let that happen. And this is where I ask my principal opposition party, Congress party, be a political opponent, but do not tarnish India's economic growth story by targeting wealth creators and spreading confusion without any substance and fact.
Okay, Mahima, will you respond to that?
Indeed, I would. And I would say that, you see, one spokesperson of the BJP was not sufficient. You suddenly had to change the spokesperson or the BJP, whatever it is. But let me just say that, you see, we have seen the whole SEBI saga. We have seen how the government has been protecting the SEBI chief. And right now, I want to thank the BJP spokesperson, in fact, for reassuring, for reinforcing my narrative when I said this is no danger to Adani government. You see, you just said, Maria, that Mr. Adani has filed his response, right? It's like a self-exoneration, and the whole BJP here is bolstering that self-exoneration narrative, bringing in legal-eagles to give their views on whatever has been said. It's not a court order that you're talking about on your show when you're talking about Mr. Adani's exoneration. It has to come from the US courts that have indicted Mr. Adani, after which Moody's, reports of Mr. Adani's businesses has gone from stable to negative, after which many countries have withdrawn their contracts with India with Mr. Adani's, the contracts that were given to him. So you see, this is a self-exoneration being bolstered by the no danger to Adani government. And we want a discussion under Rule 267 as requested by Mr. Kharge and the Honorable LOP through the proper procedure at the Parliament. And if that doesn't happen, it only increases the ambiguity around the whole issue, and this double-engine government is indeed responsible for it.
Pradeep, will you respond? I mean, the question is that can there be a meeting ground? I'm emphasizing on that because MPs across parties have been sent to Parliament with a certain degree of responsibility. the people of India expect certain things out of them. And if that is not happening, then both the India bloc or opposition and the treasury benches are responsible for it.
Well, Maria, the larger point here is that if you recall, the people of India have already given their verdict in Maharashtra. The sole press conference that Mr. Rahul Gandhi did was linking the government of the day to Dharavi and trying to create an impression of wrongdoing in Dharavi. What did the people of Maharashtra teach a lesson to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who could not be relaunched the 88th time by Mahima and her colleagues? That whatever you are raising is not the raising and is not the issue of the people of India. Remember what they said about Rafale for ages, that it's a big scam. What did the Supreme Court rule on it? What did they say about Hindenburg? What did the Supreme Court rule on it? We cannot waste the time of the parliament on fake news spread by the Congress party. If Congress party has any substance on merit, it can definitely take the recourse with SEBI, which is investigating the matter. However, here also, if she was speaking about, even here the Department of Justice has not passed an order against an Indian wealth creator. So if I take Mahima's argument forward, even what Congress party is saying is fake news. But my larger charge is, Maria, who is the Congress party in touch with from across the border and across the country, that every time the Indian stock market moves forward, every time the Indian economy moves forward, immediately before a parliament session and after an election result which the Congress party loses, the Congress party tries to spread a fake narrative. It's like a fake narrative, a season which peddles.
Mahima, 30 seconds, and then I bring in Aarti Jairath, who has been extremely patient with this kind of back and forth which is happening between the two. Go ahead.
My gratitude
Mahima?
to Ms. Jairath. But while I go ahead with my argument, Maria, it is laughable. You see, first, one spokesperson is not enough. The other one comes to back her up because she's not prepared with the arguments. The second spokesperson comes with a set of arguments, and then those arguments don't do when I say it is self-exoneration. Then he goes to the EVMs, this whole jumping from one issue to the other, running pillar to post in their pursuit to save Adani from a US court's indictment is absolutely unbecoming of the Indian government. This is highly unbecoming. This is tarnishing our image further with your channel going on world platforms. People are watching you and they're watching how desperately this government is running pillar to post to save Mr. Adani's name. Mr. Adani is not India. Adani is not India. We will go to any extent to save our country's interests.
Point being made now by Aarti Jairath. Aarti Jairath on the screen now. Aarti, the question certainly is, you heard from politicians, will the parliament function? As someone who has been tracking the parliament and its proceedings, will the parliament function? What's your thought on that?
Well, if the last, since yesterday is any indication, it doesn't look like Parliament is going to function once again. And, I think Maria mentioned this the last time we discussed Parliament. There is so much hostility between the opposition and the ruling party that it becomes very, very difficult to find a meeting ground. The ruling party is accusing the opposition of being anti-national and saying that they're in touch with forces that are inimical to India. And the ruling party is saying that, the opposition is raising issues which, are not really to be discussed on the floor of the House. I think what's happening in US courts needs to take its course. And it's only when, that moves further that it can become an issue to be discussed in the House. But certainly as far as Manipur is concerned, I think that is an issue that needs to be discussed. And, somehow I get the feeling it suits both sides if Parliament doesn't function, because then they can blame each other and they can both run away from being exposed or being outdone or being defeated in debates. And, it's just a very nice kind of cover that they have, a shield that they have for themselves, that they don't need to expose themselves, on the floor of the House. They just disrupt it and the House gets adjourned and you don't have a session.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Pradeep Bhandari, Mahima Singh, and Aarti Jairath this morning, shifting focus to the news that is coming in from the stock market, where the Adani Greens has filed its clarification or statement with the stock exchange, where they have said that there is no indictment of Gautam Adani, his nephew Sagar Adani and Vineet Jain in the DOJ, which is Department of Justice indictment order, which came in, which has led to a huge furore. The Congress, of course, demanding a JPC on that. The clarification which has come, which has led to also top lawyers of India coming out and explaining how there is no charge on first count. The first count is essentially the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Mr. Gautam Adani has not been charged under it. It also says that there is no charge under conspiracy or obstruction of justice. There is no bribery which has been indulged in by the company. The charges are largely against the officials of Azure and the CDPQ. Let's bring in Sanjay Asher, who is a senior partner, Crawford, Bailey and Company. We also have, Aman Chug, financial markets and economics guru. Beginning with you, Sanjay, the question is that after this clarification, we have seen that kind of surge which has happened. Yes. Okay, so first let's listen in to what the lawyers said this morning, and then I will go to the guests.
When you look at a charge sheet, you have to be specific to say that so and so has done such and such act, so and so has bribed certain individuals, because this is a charge sheet alleging that these people, including Adanis, have bribed Indian officials in Indian entities relating to supply and purchase of power. But I do not find a single name or a single detail in the charge sheet as to who has been bribed, in what manner has he been bribed, and the official belongs to such and such department. This charge sheet is completely silent. I don't know how one can respond to these kind of charge sheets, but I'm sure the Adanis will take legal opinion, including from American lawyers, etc. It is very important to note that count 1 and count 5 are more important than the others, but in neither in count 1 nor in count 5 is Mr. Adani or his nephew charged. Then there are 2 or 3 other counts relating to securities and bonds. In those 3 counts, the Adanis and others are named. In the last count, which is a very important count, is a count relating to obstruction of justice. In count number 5, obstruction of justice, the Adanis are not named, their officers are not named, but certain other people are named, including a foreign party.
Unless the Congress party puts out in the public domain credible evidence that there has been some wrongdoing in India, there is no need for any inquiry either by any authority in India or for a JPC. You please put out the evidence. You can't blindly follow without application of mind. You only want to create some kind of noise and disrupt Parliament. This disruption of Parliament on such, it's not even flimsy evidence. It's non-evidence. There is no evidence. Congress is reading too much into this indictment, and they are doing it for purely political purposes, and they have been aided, as is revealed by the timing of this leak, this indictment, by the democratic deep state. ये इसका जो टाइमिंग है, और आप देखते हैं कि जैसे भी ये न्यूज़ आता है अदानी के खिलाफ, हिंडनबर्ग द्वारा, अब ये इंडाइटमेंट द्वारा, हमेशा उसके बाद थोड़े टाइम के लिए अदानी ग्रुप का लॉस होता ही है. He is an industrialist who has executed many projects very successfully both in India and abroad, in infrastructure, of which we should be proud of. Now, don't rush to condemn him blindly following a US indictment. You are behaving like the local agents of a foreign power that has an interest in stopping India's economic growth and undermining economic policies, our growth story, and our stock markets.
Sanjay Asher is joining us. Sanjay, thank you so much for joining us. Now that the clarification has been, sent by the Adani Greens to the stock exchange, do you think this issue will be put to rest? It's very clearly saying that there is no charge against the senior management of the conglomerate by the Department of Justice of the United States.
Yeah, it should be put to rest now. But obviously, it's a process as far as the US court is concerned. So the due process will have to be followed, and then it will come to rest. Good part of it is that since Mr. Adani, both Mr. Gautam Adani and Mr. Sagar Adani, as also Mr. Vineet Jain, have not been charged with counts number 1 to 5. I think that's the good part of the entire issue. And so I'm sure that this will come to an end. If not sooner, I mean, it will come to an end quite soon now.
Okay, but talking about this entire nature of, the point that has been made here, that on first count, which is the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, they have not been charged. They have also not been charged with regards to the obstruction of justice. There is no bribery which is involved here. And the charges are essentially against Azure officials. So the point is that there is some kind of miscommunication or misreading which has happened of that document, and which led to this kind of dip in the Adani shares over the last, in fact, last week.
Sorry, ma'am, this question, is it routed to me?
Sanjay, if you heard me. Yes, Sanjay, if you heard me.
Yes, I mean, if there has been, because of this misreading or because of this miscommunication, if the market has taken it otherwise, and there is a fall in the Adani stock, obviously, huge amount of loss has been incurred, not only by the wholesale investors, but also by the retail investors, which is a very sad thing, and which is absolutely a blow below the belt as far as the small investors are concerned. And obviously, there has to be some action which has to be taken in relation to this particular communication, by which the market has lost on the Adani stock huge amount of money, and all the brunt has been faced by the small investors.
All right, we also have Aman Chug on this. Aman, the small investors have suffered losses. Now we are seeing that, confidence which is being shown by the investors in this particular conglomerate. There is a great degree of fundamentals which are at play here, strong fundamentals. But let's look at what happens now after that filing which has happened by the Adani Group in the stock exchange.
Namaskar, Haji. It was already very much clear that these were all conspiracy charges. In fact, the express word which was being used was they are all conspiracy charges. And I think since it has got cleared as of now, so the markets will again pull back. Although I would also try to make everyone understand that the small investors, particularly in retail, they do not take any positions in terms of on short side or a long side through derivatives. They are majorly invested through cash markets. So I don't think they would have taken up losses in terms of the temporary jolt in the Adani stocks. However, having said that, obviously a lot of pullback has been happening and a lot of funds outflow has been happening from Indian economy, Indian markets, which is trying to pull down the markets, and that could lead to losses to the larger players in the market who are playing in F&Os, etc. A lot of pullback further is also expected out of the foreign portfolio investors and the FIIs from Indian markets, because this is more of a planned assault on Indian markets and Indian economy. And a lot of articles will be coming up in the meanwhile, stating that Chinese market or the Chinese economy will flourish from here, so that the people could route their money from Indian markets into China, or maybe Indian markets into US markets as well. But I would like to caution our investors out in India, don't get stuck with these type of articles, and do not get glued to maybe moving out of your money into from Indian markets into the US markets as such. We are robust. We are almost $5.5 trillion, and
Okay,
we are still growing.
Yes, we are a resilient economy, a growing economy, the fastest growing economy. All eyes are on the India growth story. And that is the reason why you heard from Illegal Eagles of India, Sanjay, which came out to say that they have read the documents, they have read the filing of all those 45 pages to make their views known as an independent council. They think it's important to specify what is being miscommunicated and an incorrect reading of an indictment.
Do I have to answer, or Sanjay ji has to answer?
Yes, Sanjay.
Yes, if it is, since it is an incorrect reading of whatever communication has been made, and now that the things are quite clear or reasonably clear to say that, look, count number 1 to 5 are not against Mr. Gautam Adani, Mr. Sagar Adani, or Mr. Vinay Jain, that helps a lot. And as Mr. Rohatgi and Mr. Jetmalani articulated, that look, whatever allegations, whatever charges they have made are half-baked, and that should not hold any water as far as from a legal perspective is concerned. So having said all of this, it's a process, but we will have to see as to how this entire dust is now settled and things are clearer, which over a period of time we will come to know. But overall, it's a good news that count number 1 to 5 are not on Mr. Gautam Adani, Mr. Sagar Adani, or Mr. Vinay Jain. And things are quite clear now.
Okay, a word now from you, Mr. Chugh, and then we wrap up this segment.
I think if we go back 1 year back, in January 2023 as well, a similar type of allegation was being framed by Hindenburg. And at that point of time also, Adani was to raise certain funds through its bond market. And if you do remember, Qatar Investment Authority had invested a stake into Credit Suisse in January 2023. And in February 2023, the Credit Suisse wealth arm assigned zero value to Adani bonds. And similarly, now Adani was again about to raise money from the US markets. And again, this type of allegation has come. So it is more towards timing when Adani has to raise money for the strategic investments which Adani has to be doing in maybe investment in Sri Lanka, Haifa port in Israel, even in Greece, or maybe recently in Bataan of Philippines, because these are all strategic locations for Indian geopolitical territory. And I think geopolitics is getting connected with the financial markets and the economic policies per se. And more towards one more angle would be Bangladeshi government led by Mr. Yunus, who has been put onto the government by Mr. Biden. And maybe Adani was asking for the money on the electricity dues, which they were not able to pay. So some sort of maybe conspiracy charges have been allegated upon Adani Group so that they could maybe do away with those electricity dues as well. So I think it is more of a deep state mafia being playing rather than anything to be on the grassroots for the investors to be worried about.
Okay, why do you say that there is deep state? Because that's what also Mr. Mahesh Jetmalani said, that there seems to be larger conspiracy because India is a bright spot being looked at by all investors very, very favorably. And that is the reason why these charges keep coming.
Deep state was already there, but I think it has become more active maybe in the recent times, because the present government in India is not getting into the clutches of the deep state, what they want us to be doing. And I think they are trying to sabotage the reputation of Indian economy through one financial markets assault, which has been happening with the markets through Adani Group and all and similar companies. Then second is maybe creating a civil unrest type of a situation within Indian economy as well. And then third, like recently, the Biden government had also given some $100 million to Pakistan to be sponsoring terrorism in Raisi area, which is rich with lithium reserves, so that Indian economy does not flourish with this lithium reserves, which has been newly found out. So I think till Trump takes the oath, these all situational challenges will increase. And I think in the next 3 to 4 months, we'll further see a lot of further steps with the deep state to maybe create some sort of challenges for the present government to continue even. And I would say George Soros is just a part of the wider deep state.
Yes. Okay, but both, this is a question to both of you, Sanjay and Mr. Chugh. How are you looking at the short-term to long-term or mid-term, I would say, impact on the Adani portfolio because of now the clarification having been issued? There is a lot of, excitement right now today. But what about the entire mid-term if we were to look at a long-term period?
If we have to look at the markets per se, we need to also understand as a retail investor that we need to identify which stocks are in bull house and which stocks are in bear house. Certain stocks, including Reliance Adani Group stocks, might also turn out to be in the bear house while they are fundamentally strong companies. So as of now, Reliance, Adani, Tata, these are all fundamentally strong companies, but they are falling in the bear house. So that means in bear house means any rise in price is to book profit and not to stay long-term invested as of now. Although I per se see that maybe some other stocks like Coforge, Coromandel, they are doing wonderful and they are in the bull house. So in the next maybe 2 months or so, a lot of volatility will be seen in the Indian markets and also on the large companies per se, Reliance, Tata's, even Adani's, etc. So I think investors need to be booking their profits as soon as the pullback comes in the market.
In my view, short-term, medium-term, long-term.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sanjay. Yes, Mr. Chugh, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I think Sanjay ji.
I'm only saying that short-term, medium-term, and long-term, all the three, it's good for Adani stock, unless there is a black swan event which suddenly comes up as far as which affects the entire economy or the entire world. But otherwise, the retail investors have now also understood that such news do come up, but there is no meat in those news. There is no challenge in those news, and therefore they are not going to get scared in continuing to hold Adani stock, whether in short term, medium term, or long term. At the same time, they will keep investing in Adani stock, in my view.
All right, Sanjay and Mr. Chugh, thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us details and throwing perspective on that story. Both the Houses of Parliament have been adjourned to 12 noon. We'll see what happens at 12 noon when the Houses reconvene. With that, it's a wrap from me at Vijay Chowk. Back to you in the studio.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital, Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always bustling. It's literally a city that never sleeps.
And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your lives.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of governance, Delhi,
NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The Breakfast Show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
कैसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your lives.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
from Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of governance, Delhi.
NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The Breakfast Show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of
Welcome back. The Supreme Court has said converting to a religion to derive benefits of reservation without any actual belief would only defeat the social ethos of the policy of reservation and would amount to fraud on the Constitution. On Tuesday, the bench dismissed a plea by C. Selvarani against the Madras High Court's order of January 24, 2023, seeking a direction to the district authorities to issue a scheduled caste community certificate. The court said in the instant case that the evidence presented clearly demonstrated that the appellant professes Christianity and she's actively practiced the faith by attending church regularly, even as she claimed reconversion to Hinduism. Thereby, the Supreme Court upheld the Madras High Court decision denying the scheduled caste certificate. Rains lashed several parts of Tamil Nadu on Tuesday, and the deep depression over the southwest Bay of Bengal is likely to intensify into cyclone Fengal later today. Parts of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry are bracing for heavy to very heavy rainfall and the possibility of a cyclone Fengal, a name proposed by Saudi Arabia. A red alert has been issued in Nagapattinam and Tiruvarur districts. The state government is ready to face the rain, said Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, as he requested the public to be safe while going out. NDTV Sam Daniel sent us this report from Elliott Beach.
There's a red alert for 5 delta districts of Tamil Nadu since there is a deep depression over the Bay of Bengal which is likely to intensify into a cyclone today. The extremely heavy rainfall alert by the Met has been given to districts including Nagapattinam, Mayiladurai, Tiruvarur, Kadalur and Viluppuram. Already a rain holiday has been declared for schools and colleges in these districts besides the adjoining Puducherry. Till 5:30 this morning, Nagapattinam alone has received up to 16 centimeters rain and Tiruvarur up to 9.6 centimeters rain, and it could touch 20 centimeters during the course of the day. That's the forecast by Met. In Chennai and other coastal areas across Tamil Nadu, there could be heavy rainfall from today till Saturday. Some evacuations have been made in districts like Tiruvarur. We await official information in terms of the numbers. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin reviewed the situation in terms of the wind situation. The Met Office says the wind speeds could touch between 60 and 80 kilometers an hour and sometimes 90 kilometers. The sea in Chennai is extremely choppy. Fishermen have moved their boats from the shoreline to a higher ground. There is a tractor here which is being deployed to pull these boats from the shoreline to a higher ground so that they are quite safe. Sometimes when there is heavy winds, these boats get collided, suffering damages. They're trying to avert that. Fishermen have been advised to not venture into the sea and those who are in the sea to get back to the shores soon. The state government says it has got enough number of shelters ready, enough number of boats to move people, to rescue people from low-lying pockets, besides having enough number of JCBs, generators and tree cutters. Senior bureaucrats assigned as monitoring officers for these delta districts have reached there already. They are monitoring the situation. It's not clear yet where exactly the cyclone would make its landing. The Met Office says they are closely keeping a tab. In terms of Chennai, yesterday there was moderate rainfall. Many low-lying pockets in Chennai were inundated. Waterlogging was there. The Chennai Corporation has deployed motor pumps, heavy-duty motor pumps in chronic spots, low-lying spots to be able to pump waters out.
A Bangladeshi court denied bail to prominent Hindu leader Chinmoy Krishna Das Brahmachari, arrested on sedition charges, and sent him to prison, triggering protests yesterday by the community members in various locations, including the capital Dhaka and the port city of Chattogram. A protest broke out demanding Das's release in different districts, including Dhaka, Chattogram, Khulna, and Dinajpur, according to reports in the media there in Bangladesh. Now, the BJP has announced a series of agitations in West Bengal and along the state's India-Bangladesh border to demand the release of Chinmoy Krishna Das, who was arrested on Monday. Senior Congress leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi also reacted to the arrest, saying Bangladesh is being run by radicals. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. News updates continue right here on NDTV. Do keep watching.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera. Madhubala, a 16-year-old elephant in Pakistan who was in solitary confinement at Karachi Zoo, was shifted to a safari park. The elephant was moved in a container from Karachi Zoo to a safari park and will soon be reunited with her family members.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. how to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your lives.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of governance, Delhi.
NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora, we cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
And in Maharashtra, the opposition to launch this movement against EVMs, the BJP hitting back saying, why didn't the MVA question Lok Sabha results and why are they questioning the state results? And the suspense continues as far as who will be the Chief Minister of the state of Maharashtra. No decision taken so far. There seems to be no rush in order to take that decision. But it is the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena faction that's saying despite majority, Mahayuti cannot decide. And the BJP sources are saying that they are in no rush to form the government, to which the MVA is raising questions. And on day 3 of the winter session of the Parliament, the opposition ruckus continues in the Parliament. Both houses had been adjourned. Well, it is the Lok Sabha adjourned till about 12 o'clock, but Rajya Sabha adjourned till tomorrow. The Adani Group has clarified Chairman Gautam Adani and his nephew Sagar Adani have not charged with any violations of the United States Foreign Corrupt Practices Act in the bribery case. Indictment filed by the US authorities calling media reports on this as incorrect in its latest stock exchange filing. And top lawyers rubbish the charges of the United States against the Adani Group. Mukul Rohatgi says that no details about the bribery in the charge sheet, while Mahesh Jethmalani says that the Congress is playing up the indictment for politics. And the conversion for benefits is fraud on the Constitution is what the Supreme Court has said while upholding the Madras High Court's order on conversion for quota. A very good afternoon. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Vatwa. We have a whole lot lined up for you. Starting with, it is the Mahayuti versus the MVA in the state of Maharashtra, this time around over EVMs. Now, the Mahavikas Aghadi has cried foul over the result of the state elections as far as the EVMs are concerned, and they are now planning an anti-EVM campaign. While Maharashtra's BJP's jibe comes about at the opposition post that order, saying, why didn't the MVA question the results of the Lok Sabha? Why are they questioning the results of the assembly elections in the state of Maharashtra? The top court junking that anti-EVM plea, the plea that sought the return to paper ballots. Well, the MVA alleging that there was irregularities in the state elections as far as the EVMs are concerned, which is why they are demanding, in fact, they're going to go ahead and stage that protest. It is the MVA that's planning to take the issue to court. Uddhav Thackeray Sena planning a protest over the misuse as far as the EVMs are concerned, with Sharad Pawar suggesting forming a legal team.
महाराष्ट्र में ये 5 महीना पहले 5 माह पूर्व जो चुनाव हुए लोकसभा के, उनके 31 सांसद चुन के आए, 2 अपक्ष। तब क्यों नहीं ईवीएम पर सवाल खड़ा किया? तब ईवीएम बराबर थी, तब ईवीएम खराब नहीं थी। अब उनका नांदेड़ में सांसद चुन के आया अभी बाई इलेक्शन में, तो तब ईवीएम खराब नहीं है। उनके बाकी अभी विधायक चुन के आए, वहाँ ईवीएम खराब नहीं है। देखिए, बवंडर खड़ा कर रहे, और ये बवंडर से कुछ होने वाला नहीं है। उल्टा आत्मपरीक्षण करना चाहिए। तो ईवीएम का कोई दोष नहीं है।
And to get more on this, we have my colleague Radhika Ramaswamy joining us from Mumbai. Radhika, this comes about on the heels of the Supreme Court refusing to entertain a plea seeking, that voting be done again through paper ballots. Of course, it's the MVA crying foul, saying that, there was a lot of discrepancies when it came to the EVMs, wanting for, this thing to be taken to court. In fact, it is the Uddhav Thackeray faction that is planning to take this to court, while Sharad Pawar is suggesting forming of legal teams. So, of course, this comes on the heels of the Supreme Court. They're refuting to entertain that plea, seeking that voting be done again through paper ballots. Do remember Sanjay Raut had also gone on to talk about the EVM issues in terms of the state elections, and which is why the Mahavikas Aghadi now are raising that issue all over again. Uddhav Thackeray faction, they're saying that they will go to court with this. They're in fact planning to hold a demonstration against the misuse of the EVMs, and they are saying that that is the reason why they lost the elections in the state. But it is a BJP hitting back at the Mahavikas Aghadi, saying that why is it that you are talking about EVM tampering only when you lose, not when you win? And why is it that they weren't questioning this when it came to the Lok Sabha elections? And to get more on this, Radhika with us. Radhika, take us through, what is the MVA saying and how is the BJP hitting back?
That's right. Maharashtra opposition has decided to launch a campaign against electronic voting machines. Several of the leaders blaming EVM tampering. In fact, credibility of the entire election and counting process has been questioned by the opposition soon after the defeat, be it Sanjay Raut or Uddhav Thackeray from Sena or even Sharad Pawar from NCP. They are in fact planning to launch this campaign or movement against EVMs legally and on the ground as well. What we are hearing is that they will call for verification of EVMs and VVPATs units across several districts in which the candidates were defeated, because several of these defeated candidates did speak to the top leaders, including Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar, and raise their concerns on how there is discrepancy between the counting of votes as well as the polling, and there is mismanagement as well as irregularity when it comes to these machines, is something that several of these defeated candidates have informed these leaders. Therefore, they have come up with a plan to launch a campaign against them, against the EVMs, and also go ahead and start the process of verification, and perhaps may also take legal route. What we're hearing is that Sharad Pawar is in touch with the legal team, both at the state as well as national level, to address this issue. So yes, it is gaining momentum as far as the opposition is concerned. They've hardly won 50 votes, and that has raised a lot of questions. And now the opposition leaders really questioning the integrity and the use and alleged misuse of EVMs as far as assembly elections are concerned.
Right. Of course, when we talk about Sanjay Raut, who had alleged there are several complaints about EVMs malfunctioning, questioning the integrity as far as the recent elections are concerned. And also it is, like we mentioned, Sharad Pawar there, who has decided to form a legal team to analyze allegations that the machines were tampered with. Thank you so much, Radhika. Stay on with us for our next story. And of course, that is the suspense that continues as far as the seat of Maharashtra is concerned. Who is going to take on the leadership role when it comes to the seat of the Chief Minister? Mahayuti seems to be in no hurry in order to take that final call, with Eknath Shinde there tendering his resignation as the Chief Minister, playing the role of the caretaker Chief Minister for the meantime. Of course, the last day of the current assembly with no words yet as far as the successor, while both Sena and the NCP have held legislative party meets and chosen its leaders. The BJP is yet to hold their legislative party meeting, and it's the BJP leaders who are firmly backing Devendra Fadnavis as the Chief Minister, and Sena is pushing for Shinde to retain his post as the Chief Minister and to come back for another term. Meanwhile, Shiv Sena UBT leader Sanjay Raut took a jibe at the Mahayuti NDA alliance. He went on to say that despite getting a massive majority, they have not decided on the face of the Chief Minister. They have not even formed the government. He further went on to say that the UBT Sena was hopeful to form a government, and they were told that if they are unable to form the government by the 26th of November, the presidential rule will be imposed. So he is asking as to why is the presidential rule not in place already in the state of Maharashtra since the government hasn't been formed. Let's listen in.
देखिए, उनको भारी बहुमत मिला है, फिर भी 6-7 दिन हो गए, मुख्यमंत्री या सरकार नहीं बन पा रही। उसका मतलब क्या हम समझ सकते हैं? हमें कहा गया था, जब हमें सरकार बनाने का हमें एक आशा लग रही थी, तो हमें कहा गया था 26 के बाद अगर सरकार नहीं बनी तो महाराष्ट्र में राष्ट्रपति शासन लगाया जाएगा। क्या? तो अभी लगाइए राष्ट्रपति शासन, सरकार नहीं बन रही है।
Anuj joining us to get us more on this. Anuj, why is the decision taking so long? I mean, why they seem to be in no rush and no hurry to form the government or to announce the face of the Chief Minister of the state?
Although the Mahayuti might not want to accept it openly, but then there clearly is some sort of a healthy rift, is what many would like to call it, between Shinde Shiv Sena and the Bharatiya Janata Party over the top position here in the state. And this was unexpected lines, because if you talk about the pre-poll discussions, according to both the parties, no word was given by Home Minister Amit Shah while the strategy was being put down for this election as far as the position of Chief Ministership is concerned. But it was, it was considered that a party which would have a bigger majority or, bigger strike rate would have a better chance of forming or having their own Chief Minister. And considering that the Bharatiya Janata Party, won the election with a strike rate of close to 90%, meant that the cadre and of course the RSS wanted the BJP to have their own Chief Minister, given the fact that there wasn't a BJP chief minister even in the last 5 years, although theirs has been the single largest party in the state. Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, who is currently an interim chief minister, a caretaker chief minister rather, because he tendered his resignation yesterday, is trying his best at multiple levels to push for the top post yet again. He's very well aware of the fact that the Bharatiya Janata Party needs that support of the Shiv Sena party, of the Shinde faction of Shiv Sena, at least till the BMC elections. We see that BMC election is going to be a crucial point in this particular state's political trajectory, especially in the next 1 year or so, because the opposition will try to mobilize and assemble their troops together to try and give it a very hard shot, and especially Shiv Sena UBT will be trying their luck out there. And that is where, BJP will be needing someone like Shinde, who has a very good hold on the ground and has got a very favorable opinion of himself in most of the districts of Maharashtra as compared to the other Mahayuti leaders. At the same time, we see that Shinde faction, although it has gotten lesser strike rate as compared to the other two partners, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Ajit Pawar faction of NCP, it has still managed to get 57 MLAs, which is one more than what the erstwhile United Shiv Sena got. So yes, he is in a very favorable position when it comes to optics, but then when you talk about simple numericals or mathematics, it is the Bharatiya Janata Party who are in the driver's seat while determining the seat of the chief ministership. What they've been, according to several news sources, what we are also learning is that Chief Minister Eknath Shinde has also been offered, a cabinet ministry or a union ministry, and along with, of course, a deputy chief ministership as well. But nothing of this has been confirmed either by the party or by the close allies of these leaders. So yes, waiting game is still on. The delay is continuing, and that is just giving the opposition more chance to come down heavily on the Mahayuti government, especially after them having receiving the biggest mandate that any alliance has received in the history of Maharashtra.
Right, Anuj, a lot of action seen outside Devendra Fadnavis's residence. A lot of people from the party, a lot of members there to hold a meeting yet again. Meetings on meetings, and there, Sanjay Raut attacking the Mahayuti there, saying why is the presidential rule not in place?
Well, yes, you see, right after the election results, we saw the meetings started happening at three important centers. Firstly, it was Varsha, then, of course, Sagar Bungalow, first being the official residence of the Chief Minister, then the official residence of Devendra Fadnavis, and then, of course, Devgiri, residence of Ajit Pawar. But it is the Bharatiya Janata Party which has not had the official meeting of their members of Legislative Assembly yet. And that is going to be crucial, because when is it that they're actually planning to meet all their MLAs? Is it after Devendra Fadnavis is officially named as the CM, or is it going to happen in the next couple of days? Will be interesting to see. But most of these leaders who are making their way to Varsha, making their way to Sagar, is also an indicator of the fact that it is Devendra Fadnavis who is indeed in a better position to be the next chief minister. And all of these leaders from different parties, right? People who are queuing outside Sagar are not necessarily from the Bharatiya Janata Party, but we saw several leaders from Shiv Sena and also NCP be there, and it's basically leaders trying to lobby for some important positions in the Mahayuti 2.0 government of sorts. And that is how we know that it is Devendra Fadnavis indeed who is in a driver's seat. But this decision will be taken in Delhi, and that we know for sure. Of course, it has been delayed because of several reasons. Firstly, because the talks between Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis and the two factions are still on. Secondly, we're seeing that the winter session is on in Delhi, which is why the kind of mediation that was expected to happen with the help of Amit Shah has still not happened. We saw Devendra Fadnavis, he was present in Delhi a couple of days ago, but he was there, according to him, purely for personal reasons. He was there for a marriage and not for political reasons. But all of these factors, the way this entire wind is blowing in the last couple of days, suggest that it is indeed going to be Devendra Fadnavis who is in the most favorable position to become the next chief minister of the state, especially with him and his party having close to 132 MLAs, which is just 13 less than what it needs for any party to form a clear majority. And of course, they've also gotten the backing of Ajit Pawar faction of NCP as well. So in all likeliness, it is Devendra Fadnavis becoming the next chief minister. But it will be interesting to see how far does Eknath Shinde take this entire equation, this entire tug of war. Is it actually for the position of chief ministership, or is it some important portfolios that he wants for his own party or for himself? Is something that we'll have to wait and watch out for. But as I said before, more the delay, more will be there, number of chances for the opposition to attack, who are trying to be very aggressive against the, Mahayuti government or against the Bharatiya Janata Party on the issue of electronic voting machine. And now the delay in naming the chief minister will also add up to, the opposition criticizing the government even more.
Right, appeasement politics. They're of course trying to come up with that name of the chief minister. As you said, it's the BJP backing Devendra Fadnavis, while the Shinde faction is of course backing Eknath Shinde to come back in that seat, and of course also willing to offer, from what we're hearing from our sources, is the role of a union minister. Let's just also now get you the very latest, switching tracks now to more news coming in. It's the Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnav today spoke about the laws to check vulgar content on social media. He replied to questions asked by the Lok Sabha member Arun Govil during the question hour in the Lok Sabha regarding laws to check abusive content. It is the IT minister who's gone on to say that foreign content doesn't match with our culture.
माननीय सांसद महोदय ने बहुत महत्वपूर्ण विषय उठाया है। जिन ज्योग्राफी से, जिन कंट्रीज से सोशल मीडिया के ये प्लेटफॉर्म्स निकले हैं, वहाँ की सेंसिटिविटी और अपने देश की सेंसिटिविटी में बहुत बड़ा फर्क है। और ये इस तरह का डिबेट आज दुनिया के करीब हर देश में, इसीलिए मेरा निवेदन है माननीय अध्यक्ष जी कि जो अपनी पार्लियामेंट की स्टैंडिंग कमेटी है वो भी इस विषय को उठाए और इस विषय पे समाज में कंसेंसस हो और उसमें और कड़े कानून बने।
And Vasudha joining us to get us more on this. Vasudha, Ashwini Vaishnav there talking about how international content, this vulgar content on social media, there needs to be a crackdown on this, and it's the Parliament Standing Committee that must take up this issue.
Absolutely, Divya. If you look at what Ashwini Vaishnav, who's also the INB minister and also the IT minister, said today, it's very important. He said that most of these video streaming platforms originate from countries in the West where the cultural values are different from what India has. And this is in line with what the ministry has also been doing. Ashwini Vaishnav made this important intervention speaking in the Lok Sabha while replying to Meerut MP Arun Govil's question. And he said that the standing committee of the parliament with respect to IT matters needs to take this up, and they need to build a consensus on this. They also need to, see what the Indian society wants, and clearly this is all aligned with what the ministry has been doing in the last few years. Remember that the INB ministry has also been having extensive consultations with OTT platform owners. They've also been talking to producers to, to put a stop on vulgar and obscene content, which they feel is dangerous to the Indian society, specifically to children and young adults. In fact, in March earlier this year, the INB ministry also blocked around 13 OTT platforms because they had content which was not seen as appropriate for viewing for Indian audience. So this is an attempt by the Indian government to ensure that OTT content is not just legally compliant with India, but also culturally and socially compliant with the Indian context. So that's why Ashwini Vaishnav has said this. And I know from my sources that the ministry is already in the process of rehauling the entire regulatory framework of the laws that govern the content on OTT platforms. Remember that there are 2021 laws, the IT laws that came into force, which have been challenged, that puts in place a 3-level grievance mechanism for anyone who finds this content vulgar. But at the same time, there's also IT Act of 2000, and what the ministry wants to do is ensure that there is strong regulation. But of course, what I also know is that there are no outright bans which are being planned. But of course, there's a lot of consultation, deliberation, discussion with OTT content makers, OTT platform owners, and most importantly, it remains to be seen if OTT platforms will have something like a pre-certification, which we already have in the realm of movies in the form of the CBFC or the certification board for films.
Right. Thank you so much, Vasudha, for joining us with those details. And it was day 3 of the winter session of the Parliament with ruckus that erupted in the House. The proceedings in both houses have been adjourned for the day after opposition MPs raised slogans inside the Parliament with the Congress there wanting debate as far as the Constitution is concerned, and also raking up issues in regard to the Manipur situation. So the government was to table the Banking Laws Amendment Bill, and the government was to also table the bill to amend the Railway Act, but it is both the houses that have now been adjourned till tomorrow. It is Samajwadi Party's MP Dimple Yadav who also raised the question in regard to the riots in Sambal. And switching tracks now to get you the very latest in regard to the Adani Green Energy that's issued a clarification saying that Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani and senior executive Vineet Jain are clear of all bribery charges as per the US Department of Justice. In an exchange filing, the Adani Green has said that news published by various media houses on the bribery and corruption charges against Adani officials is incorrect.
There is a big conspiracy to destabilize India's economy because Mr. Adani has big stake. He has so much investment in India and so much industries are moving. And not only he is investing in India, in foreign countries, he has enhanced the name of India and it has become jealous of some political parties as well as foreign agencies who want to destabilize India. Because under Modi government, they could not defeat at border, they could not create internal problems, and Indian economy is growing. So to stop this, such type of allegations are made.
And punching holes in the allegations against the Adani Group, senior lawyer and former Attorney General of India, Mukul Rohatgi, said that the group's founder chairman, Gautam Adani, and his nephew have not been accused of bribery or also obstructing justice in the United States. The senior lawyer addressed the media to counter misleading news reports of the US, this is the Department of Justice. Well, he went on to say that, the Adanis have not been named. No details about the bribery is in the charge sheet. No details on which officials were bribed is in the charge sheet. Let's listen in.
When you look at a charge sheet, you have to be specific to say that so-and-so has done such and such act. So-and-so has bribed certain individuals. Because this is a charge sheet alleging that these people, including Adanis, have bribed Indian officials in Indian entities relating to supply and purchase of power. But I do not find a single name or a single detail in the charge sheet as to who has been bribed, in what manner has he been bribed, and the official belongs to such and such department. This charge sheet is completely silent. I don't know how one can respond to these kind of charge sheets, but I'm sure the Adanis will take legal opinion, including from American lawyers, etc. It is very important to note that count 1 and count 5 are more important than the others, but in neither in count 1 nor in count 5 is Mr. Adani or his nephew charged. Then there are 2 or 3 other counts relating to securities and bonds. In those 3 counts, the Adanis and others are named. In the last count, which is a very important count, is a count relating to obstruction of justice. In count number 5, obstruction of justice, the Adanis are not named, their officers are not named, but certain other people are named, including a foreign party.
And let's just also get you what Mahesh Jethmalani, senior lawyer and former Rajya Sabha MP, said that the Congress is reading too much into the indictment against the Adani Group in the United States for purely political purposes. Let's listen in.
Unless the Congress party puts out in the public domain credible evidence that there has been some wrongdoing in India, there is no need for any inquiry either by any authority in India or for a JPC. You please put out the evidence. You can't blindly follow without application of mind. You only want to create some kind of noise and disrupt Parliament. This disruption of parliament on such, it's not even flimsy evidence. It's non-evidence. There is no evidence. Congress is reading too much into this indictment, and they are doing it for purely political purposes, and they have been aided, as is revealed by the timing of this leak, this indictment, by the democratic deep state. ये इसका जो टाइमिंग है, और आप देखते हैं कि जैसे भी ये न्यूज आता है अदानी के खिलाफ, हिंडनबर्ग द्वारा, अब ये इंडाइटमेंट द्वारा, हमेशा उसके बाद थोड़े टाइम के लिए अदानी ग्रुप का लॉस होता ही है. He is an industrialist who has executed many projects very successfully, both in India and abroad, in infrastructure, of which we should be proud of. Now, don't rush to condemn him blindly following a US indictment. You are behaving like the local agents of a foreign power that has an interest in stopping India's economic growth and undermining economic policies, our growth story, and our stock markets.
And Adani stocks make a roaring comeback, with Adani stocks shrug off their losses. Adani Energy Solution hits upper circuit and strong buying as far as all Adani stocks are concerned. So Adani Group stocks saw a strong recovery this morning after the statement punched a hole in the US indictment. Shares of the Adani Group companies, including Adani Green Energy Limited, Adani Power Limited and Adani Energy Solution Limited, as well as Adani Enterprise Limited, saw gains in Wednesday's early trade. The gains reached up to 5% after the group clarified that Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani and senior executive Vineet Jain are not facing charges under the US Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And to get more on this, we have my colleague Harsh joining us to get us more on this. All Adani shares are now trading in the green this morning.
Well, yes, they are. There's been a strong bounce back in terms of the way in which they've moved today. And you know, the positive here largely is that they've not opened meaningfully gap up, but as the day has gone by, they've strengthened. So when I'm looking at certain names, and let me quickly highlight a few, Adani Energy is up 10%. Mind you, Adani Energy fell 30% since the 12th or the 16th of November, since all of this has started actually. My apologies, since the 20th of November, since some of these controversies have started. Stock has fallen 30, up 10% now. So the recovery is already starting to play out. You also have an Adani Total, which is up 10%. You have an Adani Power, which is doing 9.5% in trade. Adani Green up 8% plus. The flagship companies, that's where a bulk of the move is, even in terms of the index. When you look at it, 7.5% on Adani Enterprises, nearly 4% on Adani Ports as well. So those are index moving stocks also playing their role in terms of the bounce back. And just to kind of highlight also a little bit of rationale as to why possibly an Adani Total Gas is up on 10, why even an Adani Energy Solutions is up 10%. While they had fallen steeply as well, when I'm looking at relative valuations, you know, since 2021, the multiples in that sense are the lowest today. And therefore, you're seeing good bounce back in some of these stocks, justifiably so, because the multiples have just compressed, lowest multiples since 2021 on some of these names.
Right. Thank you so much, Harsh, for joining us with all those details. With that, we're slipping into a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. To stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con. NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your lives.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
from Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of governance, Delhi.
NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m. Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora, we cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here. NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility, according to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024. NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India, beating all its competition. NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels.
Welcome back. While the hearing as far as the bail petition of former West Bengal Education Minister Partha Chatterjee in that money laundering case, the Supreme Court has expressed concerns, speaking about how you can't keep an accused under custody for such a long period without a trial. To get more on this, we have my colleague Sunil joining us. Sunil, Partha Chatterjee has been in custody for almost 2.5 years since his arrest in 2022. Take us through what his lawyer Mukul Rohatgi had to say.
Oh, he had a lot to say and was really defending him and putting a case for, his early bail. And in fact, the Supreme Court was inclined towards that to a great extent, saying that he's been in custody for so long. What is the conviction rate of the Enforcement Directorate? The ASG, of course, had to try to explain a whole lot of issues after, of course, the Calcutta High Court had rejected his bail plea earlier. So now it's in the Supreme Court, and definitely they seem inclined towards granting him relief. We'll have to wait and see in the next hearing what happens in this case.
Right, so he hasn't been granted bail, but it's coming up again now in a week's time from now. Take us through, this particular case. I mean, also, his lawyers highlighted how old he is, above 70 years of age. And it is, of course, the Supreme Court coming down heavily, which we've seen in the past also, saying that bail is the norm and jail is, the exception, and which is what he's gone on to also the court again saying that how can you keep someone in custody without a trial for so long?
That's right. Bail is the rule, jail is the exception. Is a different bench, but Supreme Court saying very categorically on that important point. And it's in that context, of course, those visuals of 2022 were shocking for everybody. The fact that a higher education minister of West Bengal was caught with so much of money, and this was, a kind of a repartee that the ASJ pointed out, that so much of money in one's house at that time. Why was it done? So all those issues are definitely there. But as you rightly pointed out, this is about granting a man who's above 70 years some kind of relief. And since he has already been nearly 3 years in prison, the Supreme Court inclined towards giving him relief. They have sought replies. And once they hear that matter, I think there will be a finality. But we'll have to wait till that decision is taken.
Right. Sunil, stay with us for the next story as well, and that is the Supreme Court there has said that converting to a religion to derive the benefits of reservation without any actual belief would only defeat the social ethos of the policy of reservation and would amount to fraud on the Constitution. Sunil, take us through the proceedings in court in regard to the conversion for the benefits. Is fraud, is what the Supreme Court has gone on to say, fraud on the Constitution?
I think a lot has been read about this judgment. We must put it in context. This is about, religious conversion for trying to gain some kind of benefit. This is a case of a person who was who was born a Christian, converted to Hinduism to avail of the benefits of scheduled castes, and to get a job opportunity, to which I think the Madras High Court had been very stringent about it and didn't agree with it. And it's in the same context that the Supreme Court has upheld the Madras High Court's decision of doing what it has in terms of how, you can't be converting to get benefits just in terms of jobs. That's really a fraud on religious conversion. And it's in that backdrop that the Supreme Court has upheld and said very categorically, you can't convert, just to suit yourself, but you are a practicing Christian in this case. But definitely, it is an important judgment in this perspective of how you can convert and when you can convert and what benefits you can avail.
Right, Sunil, of course, the Supreme Court, they're upholding the Madras High Court order. Thank you so much for joining us with those details. Switching tracks now to Bangladesh, and a Bangladeshi court had denied bail to the prominent Hindu leader Krishnadas Brahmachari, arrested on sedition charges, and sent him to prison, triggering protests by community members in various locations, including the capital of Dhaka. Now, the protests that broke out demanding the release in different districts, including Dhaka and other areas as well. Well, it is the BJP that's announced a series of agitations in West Bengal and along the state of the India-Bangladesh border to demand the release of the Hindu monk who was arrested by the Dhaka police on Monday. A senior Congress leader, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who has also reacted to the arrest, saying that Bangladesh is being run by radicals. My colleague Saurabh joining us to get us more on this. Saurabh, take us through these demonstrations that have been planned in order to demand the release of the Hindu monk.
Well, this is not just about Bangladesh. It's now, of course, garnered attention from across the border in India as well. And this is about really protection of minorities in Bangladesh. There have been, reports that have been coming in even yesterday evening where there were threats that were being issued to minority community, especially the Hindu community in Bangladesh. And a lot of this targeting also seems to have been directed towards ISKCON, which is an organization that has worked in terms of, a lot of philanthropic work in Bangladesh itself as well. So this is something that obviously is ongoing, but yesterday also the chief advisor to the Bangladesh interim government, Mohammad Yunus, issued a statement of, promising to uphold communal harmony. The Ministry of External Affairs in India also issued a very strong statement. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Bangladesh has responded to that statement. In India, notable voices like Sri Ravi Shankar, the founder of the Art of Living Foundation, also Pavan Kalyan, all of these personalities including Congress leader and senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi, all have pointed towards what's going on in Bangladesh, which is the targeting and profiling of a community. And this is something that has also led to protests across the border in neighboring West Bengal, which is where we are. Yesterday also the BJP protested right here at the Legislative Assembly in West Bengal in Kolkata. They're going to hold more protests, and also on Monday there's a protest planned at the Petrapol border with Bangladesh. And this is something that is being organized in response to the targeting of minority communities. And the MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs, has said in the statement that while communities are being targeted, it's unfortunate that those who are raising their voice for legitimate demands like protection of minorities, giving the example of the Hindu monk Chinmay Krishnadas, who's been arrested, they are being arrested, but the perpetrators of attacks against the minority community, the Hindu community in Bangladesh, are still at large. So this is something that, of course, we see playing out with also Mohammad Yunus issuing a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Bangladesh issuing a statement. And there are efforts now to garner more international attention on this issue because there is, of course, this issue of Hindus being targeted in Bangladesh, and there are protests also taking place in neighboring West Bengal and in West Bengal, which is where we are, on this issue of the targeted attacks on the Hindu community in the country of Bangladesh.
Saurabh, we will keep coming back to you for more on that. Thank you so much for joining us. Moving on now to Manipur, where tensions have erupted yet again after a man has gone missing from the army camp. Now, drones, trackers and dogs have been deployed in order to search for the man who's gone missing, and the operations to nab the culprits is what the Chief Minister of the state has gone on to say. So the army that launched that search operation on Tuesday after the 56-year-old man from the Methi community went missing. The missing man is a supervisor for a contractor working with military engineering services, and the disappearance has sparked a widespread anger as well as large number of protesters, mostly women, taking to the streets. Let's listen in to what the Chief Minister, Biren Singh, had to say.
Started from the Jiriba, but it will continue all over the state, not only the Methi area. Those where the arms militant, illegal arms militants operating, the operation will be there.
And let's switch tracks to Tamil Nadu, where very heavy showers are expected because of a weather system that's intensifying into a cyclone. It's a deep depression that's intensifying into a cyclone. It's going to be skirting the coastline of Tamil Nadu as well as Sri Lanka, which is going to be bringing about very heavy showers. It is very windy and rain has started. We have seen rain over the last 2 days and waterlogging in the state of Tamil Nadu. The NDRF teams are on standby. This is a system that is at sea while it's intensifying, while it's brewing at sea. Very heavy showers are expected in the area. To get us a ground report, my colleague Sam Daniel tells us how bad it is as far as the city of Chennai is concerned.
There's a red alert for 5 delta districts of Tamil Nadu since there is a deep depression over the Bay of Bengal, which is likely to intensify into a cyclone today. The extremely heavy rainfall alert by the Met has been given to districts including Nagapattinam, Mayiladurai, Thiruvarur, Kadalur and Viluppuram. Already a rain holiday has been declared for schools and colleges in these districts besides the adjoining Puducherry. Till 5:30 this morning, Nagapattinam alone has received up to 16 centimeters rain and Thiruvarur up to 9.6 centimeters rain, and it could touch 20 centimeters during the course of the day. That's the forecast by Met. In Chennai and other coastal areas across Tamil Nadu, there could be heavy rainfall from today till Saturday. Some evacuations have been made in districts like Thiruvarur. We await official information in terms of the numbers. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin reviewed the situation in terms of the wind situation. The Met Office says the wind speeds could touch between 60 and 80 kilometers an hour and sometimes 90 kilometers. The sea in Chennai is extremely choppy. Fishermen have moved their boats from the shoreline to a higher ground. There is a tractor here which is being deployed to pull these boats from the shoreline to a higher ground so that they are quite safe. Sometimes when there is heavy winds, these boats get collided, suffering damages. They're trying to avert that. Fishermen have been advised to not venture into the sea, and those who are in the sea to get back to the shores soon. The state government says it has got enough number of shelters ready, enough number of boats to move people, to rescue people from low-lying pockets, besides having enough number of JCBs, generators and tree cutters. Senior bureaucrats assigned as monitoring officers for these delta districts have reached there already. They are monitoring the situation. It's not clear yet where exactly the cyclone would make its landing. The Met Office says they're closely keeping a tab. In terms of Chennai, yesterday there was moderate rainfall. Many low-lying pockets in Chennai were inundated. Waterlogging was there. The Chennai Corporation has deployed motor pumps, heavy-duty motor pumps in chronic spots, low-lying spots, to be able to pump waters out.
Right, thank you so much, Sam, for getting us those details. We will keep tracking the story and coming back to you for more on that. Now, moving on to international news, and it's Israel that's begun a ceasefire in Lebanon after an all-out war with Hezbollah amid global calls for peace in the Middle East. But fighting will continue in Gaza, where Israel has promised to destroy the Palestinian Hamas group. The Israeli cabinet approved the ceasefire deal that was brokered by the United States and by France late last night by a vote of 10-1. Announcing the good news, it was US President Joe Biden who said that ceasefire that has now taken into effect, it has come into effect from 4 o'clock in the morning local time, and it was a new start for Lebanon. During the ceasefire, firing will stop from both sides. An official has gone on to say, however, any violation by Hezbollah would see a forceful retaliation from Israel, is what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had to say. Listen in.
חיזבאללה יפר את הפסקת האש לא רק אם הוא יירה עלינו, הוא יפר את ההסכם גם כשהוא ינסה להתחמש כדי לירות עלינו בעתיד. על כל הפרה שלו נגיב בעוצמה.
We, along with France and others, will provide the necessary assistance to make sure this deal is implemented fully and effectively. Let me be clear. If Hezbollah or anyone else breaks the deal and poses a direct threat to Israel, then Israel retains the right to self-defense consistent with international law, just like any country when facing a terrorist group pledged to that country's destruction. At the same time, this deal supports Lebanon's sovereignty, and so it heralds a new start for Lebanon, a country that I've seen most of over the years, a country with rich history and culture.
Right, we have Ghazali joining us to get us more on this. Ghazali, what has been said by Benjamin Netanyahu is that even if he sees people who are going to be arming themselves, that will also be a violation of the terms and conditions. Take us through what the terms really are.
See, the Israeli cabinet has not, or even the United States or Lebanon has not yet revealed the entire deals of what is there in the ceasefire. But largely, the bigger major points are that one, that Hezbollah will have to be disarmed, and that entire area, 30 kilometers near the Israeli border, will be occupied by the Lebanese army. Besides that, it is also one of the conditions in the ceasefire that Hezbollah will have to disarm itself, and Israel will still have the right to defend itself if and when, as and when it feels that if Hezbollah still poses that kind of threat, which is, and Israel is compelled to attack, then Israel will have all the right to attack those targets in Lebanon. Since yesterday, even after Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu announced that a ceasefire deal has been achieved with Lebanon or with Hezbollah, the attacks continued on the urban areas, in the central areas of Beirut city, and there was complete chaos in the city despite the announcement of ceasefire. But since morning, there has been no aerial attack or aerial bombardments in Beirut. But all eyes are now that whether this ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah will inspire the stakeholders to also look for a ceasefire with Hamas in Gaza, because that is the center point of this entire conflict. And some of the sources in the Middle East who are in touch with the leaders of Hamas have confirmed that even Hamas has shown interest that it will go for a ceasefire as and when US and other parties like Egypt, Qatar, and other Middle Eastern players push for it. But as of now, that's a big relief for the citizens of Lebanon that Israel has agreed for a ceasefire and there will be no further attacks. But there is a catch, because Israel has been allowed to leave Lebanese territory in the next 2 months. That's 60 days from today. And by after 2 months, we all know that by January 20th, perhaps President Trump will be in office. He is the president-elect right now, but he has also shown a kind of confidence and has shown his national security advisor has also kind of issued a statement saying that it is due to the impact of Trump's victory that all the parties in the conflict have agreed for ceasefire. So now all eyes will be on Israeli army, that how they behave and react for the ceasefire, since they are already occupying the territory of Lebanon. And it will have to be seen that whether or how soon Israel will deoccupy or leave the territory of Lebanon after the ceasefire has been activated early morning today.
Right. Thank you so much, Ghazali, for breaking it down for us as to what are really the terms and conditions of that ceasefire. Moving on to sports news now, and it's Olympics bronze medalist Bajrang Punia, who has been suspended for 4 years by the National Anti-Doping Agency for refusing to provide a urine sample during the selection trials for the national team. The suspension means that Bajrang Punia will not be able to return to competitive wrestling and apply for a coaching job abroad if he aspires to. The first he was suspended by back in April for the offence, following which the world governing body UWW had also suspended him. Bajrang had appealed against the provisional suspension. He also had joined the Congress party along with fellow wrestler Vinesh Fogart and was given charge of the All India Kisan Congress. So now this decision has been taken. He has been suspended for 4 years. The wrestler has been suspended by NADA, and this is a suspension for failing to give that test sample before the trials. And let's just switch tracks now to Pakistan. And following the government crackdown, the PTI had to call off its Islamabad protests for the first time being. Imran Khan's party had to stop the protests after 6 people were killed in the unrest. The party released a statement on social media platform X saying it is calling off the protests for now. The protests ended following a day of clashes between security forces and protesters in the city's red zone that ended in the party leadership's hasty retreat. The late last night retreat by the PTI leadership included Imran Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the Chief Minister Ali Amin, as well as that came after what was really heard was that the protesters to go home and have dinner and to return back tomorrow in the early hours of Wednesday. A press release shared by the party on its official X account read, in view of the government's brutality and the government's plan to turn the capital into a slaughterhouse for unarmed citizens, they announced the suspension of the peaceful protests for just the time being. And with that, let's just also get you a jumbo reunion. We're talking about elephant Madhubala, who reunited with her family, reuniting with sisters after 15 years. Well, with that, we are wrapping this bulletin. News and updates will continue on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Reunion there of Elephant Madhubala reuniting with her sisters after 15 years. She has been shifted to the Safari Park in Karachi.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं.
NDTV World, your new home for global news is here. It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360